My name is Alex. This week, I arrived in London for the first time. I was excited. I had dreamed about this trip for a long time. I wanted to see the big city, try new food, and speak English with real people. I was also a little nervous. Everything was new, everything was different, but I told myself, this is your chance. You can do this. When the airplane landed, I looked out the window. The sky was gray, but the city looked beautiful. I felt a little tired from the flight, but I was happy. I followed the signs inside the airport. Passport control, baggage claim, exit. There were many people, but I stayed calm. I stood in line and waited. At the immigration desk, a woman looked at my passport. She asked, "Why are you visiting London?" I said, "For vacation." She smiled and said, "Enjoy your stay." I smiled back. I am in London now. My adventure had started. I picked up my suitcase and walked toward the taxi area. I looked around. There were many signs, but I didn't understand all of them. I felt a little confused. So, I asked a worker at the airport, "Excuse me, where's the taxi?" She smiled and pointed to the left. I thanked her and walked that way. Outside, I got into a black taxi. The driver was friendly. He had a strong British accent. I told him, "It's my first time in London." He said, "Welcome. You will love it here." As we drove, I looked out the window. I saw red buses, old buildings, and people walking fast on the streets. I saw a man with a guitar playing music on the sidewalk. I saw a small dog in a yellow raincoat. Everything looked interesting and full of life. When we arrived at the hotel, I took my suitcase and went inside. The lobby was clean and quiet. The woman at the front desk said, "Hello, welcome. Can I help you?" I gave her my name. She typed on her computer and smiled. "Here's your key card. Your room is number 207. Have a nice stay." I said thank you and smiled back. I took the elevator to the second floor. The elevator made a soft sound when it stopped. The hallway smelled like flowers. It was peaceful. I walked to room 207 and used the key card to open the door. The room was small but nice. There was a big bed with white pillows. There was a desk near the window. There were 2 chairs and a small table. I walked to the window and looked outside. I could see the river. Boats were moving slowly on the water. It looked like a painting. I felt calm. I unpacked my suitcase. I put my clothes in the closet. I took a quick shower. The warm water felt good. Then I sat on the bed and looked around. I thought, I'm really here. I made it. I am in London. That evening, I wrote in my notebook. I wrote a list of places I wanted to visit. Big Ben, Buckingham Palace, Tower Bridge, a local market, and a bookstore. I also wanted to try fish and chips and drink tea in a quiet cafe. I smiled as I wrote. I felt ready. Before going to sleep, I looked out the window one more time. The city lights were soft. The river looked peaceful. I whispered to myself, "You are brave. You are starting something new. This is just the beginning." That night, I slept well. I dreamed of walking through London streets, meeting kind people, and speaking more English every day. I felt proud of myself for coming this far. I didn't know what would happen next, but I was ready to find out. The next morning, I woke up early. The sun was shining a little through the clouds. I felt fresh and ready to explore London. I looked at my notebook and read the list I wrote the night before. Big Ben, Buckingham Palace, Tower Bridge, a market, and and a bookstore. I smiled and said to myself, let's go. After breakfast at a small cafe near my hotel, I began my day. I walked through busy streets and quiet parks. I saw Big Ben and the red double-decker buses. I watched people taking photos. I visited a beautiful bookstore with wooden shelves and warm lights. I bought a book about London's history. Then I tried fish and chips for lunch. The food was hot and crispy. It was simple, but delicious. By the end of the day, my legs were tired. My feet hurt a little, and my eyes felt sleepy. I was happy, but all I wanted now was to go back to my hotel, take off my shoes, and rest. The sky was dark, and the lights of the city were glowing softly. I reached the hotel and walked to the elevator. I pressed the button for the second floor. I remembered my room number. It was 207. When I reached the second floor, everything looked the same as before. Quiet, clean, and calm. I walked down the hallway. I found room 207 and took out my key card. The light turned green. I opened the door and stepped inside. The room looked a little different, but I was very tired, so I didn't think too much. I saw a suitcase near the bed. I thought, did I leave my suitcase there? Then I saw clothes on the chair. That was strange. I didn't remember putting clothes there. I walked a few more steps into the room and stopped. There were shoes by the door. They were not mine. My heart started to beat faster. I looked around the room again. Something was wrong, I whispered to myself. Is this really my room? I looked down at my key card. It said, Room 207. I was confused. I was sure I went to the right place, but something still felt wrong. Then I heard a sound. The bathroom door opened slowly. A man walked out. His hair was wet. He was wearing a towel. He looked at me with wide eyes. I froze. My face turned red. "Who are you?" the man said. I'm sorry, I said. I think I'm in the wrong room. This is room 207, he said, still surprised. I looked at my key card again. Yes, I said, showing it to him. Mine says 207 too. He walked closer and looked at my card. Then he pointed to something I had not noticed before. Look, he said, your card says third floor. My eyes opened wide. I had made a mistake. I was on the second floor, but my room was on the third floor. I had gone to the wrong floor. I'm so sorry, I said quickly. I didn't know. I'm really sorry. The man laughed. He was kind. It's okay, he said. Just make sure to check the floor next time. I said sorry again and rushed out of the room. My heart was beating fast. I felt so embarrassed. My face was hot. I walked to the elevator and pressed the button for the third floor. When I arrived, I found the real room 207. I used the key card. The door opened. This time, everything looked right. My suitcase was by the bed. My clothes were folded on the chair. It was my room. I sat on the bed and started to laugh. I had made a silly mistake, but now it was funny. I thought, what if the man had been angry? What if he had called hotel security? I was lucky that he was kind. I learned something important that day. Always check your room number and your floor. Even small mistakes can teach you a big lesson. I also learned that it's okay to make a mistake. People understand, and sometimes mistakes become the best stories to remember. The next morning, I went down to the hotel lobby to have breakfast. The dining area was quiet and warm. I sat near the window with a plate of toast, eggs, and a cup of tea. As I sipped my tea, I saw a familiar face. It was the same man from last night, the one whose room I had entered by mistake. He looked at me, smiled, and waved. "Hey, room 207," he said with a laugh. I smiled back. "Hi, thanks again for not calling security." We both laughed. That moment felt light and easy. It was like a small connection between two strangers. I was still a little embarrassed, but his friendly attitude made me feel better. I realized that this small mistake had become a memory I would never forget. After breakfast, I went outside and walked down the street. The weather was cool and the wind felt fresh on my face. I thought about what happened the night before. I thought about how nervous I was when I entered the wrong room. I thought about how kind the man was. And I thought about how easy it is to make a mistake, even when you're trying your best. But then I smiled. That mistake taught me something. It showed me that making a mistake doesn't mean you're a failure. It doesn't mean you should feel bad. It just means you are human. And when you're in a new place or trying something new, like speaking a new language, it's normal to make mistakes. I thought about my English. I sometimes feel nervous when I speak. I worry I might use the wrong word or say something in the wrong way. But now, I remember the hotel mistake, and I remind myself mistakes are not the end of the story. They are the beginning of learning. They are a chance to grow, to improve, and sometimes even to laugh. Later that day, I wanted to challenge myself. I walked into a small cafe near the river. It was quiet and cozy inside. I walked to the counter and said, "Hi, I'd like a cup of tea, please." The woman behind the counter smiled and said, "Of course. Would you like milk or lemon?" I answered, "Milk, please." She made the tea and handed it to me. I paid and sat at a table by the window. I looked outside at the street, at people walking, at the red buses passing by. I felt proud. It was a small thing, ordering talk, but I had done it in English, clearly and confidently. That small moment helped me realize something even bigger. We don't always need to be perfect. We just need to try. We need to speak, even if our voice shakes. We need to act, even if we feel unsure. Because every try is progress. Every mistake is a step forward. That night, I wrote in my notebook again. This time, I didn't write a list of places to visit. I wrote something different. I wrote, "Mistakes are okay. Kind people make hard moments easier. I am learning every day. Be brave. Speak. Try. Laugh when things go wrong. It helps." The next morning, as I packed my suitcase to leave the hotel, I felt thankful. My trip to London had not been perfect, but it had been real. I had walked in the wrong room, but I had also learned an important life lesson. Now, when I practice English, I remind myself I don't need to speak perfectly. I just need to speak. I don't need to worry about every small error. I just need to keep going. The only real mistake is giving up. If you are learning English like me, I want to say this to you. Don't be afraid of your mistakes. They are not your enemy. They are your teacher. Speak often. Read out loud. Make mistakes. And grow from them. This trip to London gave me many good memories. But the most important thing it gave me was confidence. And that is something I will carry with me always. Alex's story in London is more than just a travel story. It's a journey of learning, growing, and finding courage in small moments. From the moment he arrived in London, everything was new. The city, the people, the language. It was all unfamiliar. But step by step, Alex learned to face his fears. He made a small mistake when he walked into the wrong hotel room. At first, he felt embarrassed and afraid. But because the man in the room was kind, the moment turned into something funny, not scary. That mistake helped Alex feel stronger. It reminded him that not all mistakes are bad. Some mistakes can become special memories. Later, when Alex spoke English at a cafe, he felt proud. It was a small sentence, but it meant a lot. He realized he didn't need to speak perfect English. He only needed to try. By the end of his trip, Alex had not only visited a beautiful city, he had also grown in confidence. So, what can we learn from Alex's story? Mistakes are part of learning. Don't be afraid to make them. Mistakes help us become better, not worse. Whether you are learning English, trying a new job, or starting something new, it's okay to feel unsure. What matters most is that you keep going. Speak even when you feel nervous. Try even when you feel small. Because every time you try, you grow. And now, congratulations! You've made it to the end of the story. That means your listening and understanding skills are getting better. You practiced English in a real, meaningful way. You didn't just learn words, you learned through emotion, story, and connection. Now it's time for a fun question. Are you ready? Question. What was the room number that Alex was supposed to stay in? A. Room 307. B. Room 207. Write your answer in the comments below. Type A or B, and let's see how many of you remember. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe to the channel. It helps a lot. When you subscribe, it gives us motivation to keep creating useful and inspiring English stories just for you. Also, if you feel this content helped you, consider donating to support the channel. In the beginning, making high-quality content is not easy. Your support helps us grow and continue bringing great lessons to more learners like you. Thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next story. Keep learning, keep smiling, and remember, mistakes help us grow.